Hi, welcome back to Raising Families. You know, we're living in really, really stressful times, as I'm sure you all know. And we decided that it would be a great time to do a show specifically addressing stress because parents in particular are going through a lot right now, having to not only deal with the coronavirus on their own and trying to keep them and their family safe, but in addition, you're trying to homeschool, you're trying to keep everybody safe and occupied and can't be around maybe your support systems and your loved ones. So what better time to show on stress and how to cope with this very, very unusual, stressful circumstance that we're in. Today our show is called Mental Health During the COVID-19 Pandemic. And we're going to start by introducing our guests. We have two wonderful guests today. One is Shannon Carroll. He is a nurse practitioner practicing psychiatric nursing. And he is also an adjunct professor at New York University. And by the way, he's also my son, but that's a separate issue. Today, here as a professional, as he deals with people dealing with stress every day. And in addition, we have Esther Blanchard, who is an LPN, who has a history in social services and also has podcasts and blogs and does workshops all around the issue of stress and self-care. So what better time to have both of them come on the show and be with us. So we're going to start with Shannon. Shannon, the other day when we were talking about the show, you mentioned trauma and kind of collective trauma. And I think that would be a really good thing to talk about today.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Mom. I'm going to call you Bonnie from now on, but
yes.
I just want to say that it's such an honor to be on the show. I've been watching it since the 90s, and I'm so proud of you. But anyway, so yeah, this situation is so abnormal, as I think everybody knows. And for me personally, I'm alone at home right now, and I'm quarantined. I'm not seeing anyone that I know, not friends, not family, and it's a very uncomfortable space to be. That being said, I have learned through the process some tricks that have really helped me kind of survive. So when this first happened, I really thought I was getting very sick because I'm thinking, okay, I'm a medical provider. This doesn't affect me. I know what to do. I know everything. This is what I got to do. And it wasn't working for me. That type of thinking wasn't working. I was late for appointments, even though they were on video in my own living room. I was forgetting to take the dog out. I was feeding the dog 2 hours late. And you know, my dog is very demanding. So she did not like that. All kinds of things just started to get shaky for me, and I got nervous, and so I called my therapist. Now I go to therapy every week, and I love it, but I thought that I might be in trouble because what's happening here? And the truth is, what I was experiencing was a normal response to an abnormal situation. And I thought I was coming apart, but I started hearing from patients and from friends, even from you, Ma, and from Wendy, my sister. I started hearing a lot of the same stuff, the same symptoms. And I'm like, what's going on here? Are we all collectively sick? And so I did a little research. I talked to some of my psychiatrist friends, and we kind of nailed it. And it's called a trauma stress response. So what happens to a person when they're exposed to something that's so overwhelming that they don't know what to do with it is they sort of come apart a little bit. We all get scared. We all feel a little bit hopeless. For me personally, I felt unmotivated, felt like the world was not safe, was a little afraid to go get my groceries and stuff like that. Then didn't want to go because I had to put a mask on and do all this other stuff. Stopped working out because they closed my gym. And then I turned it all on myself. I thought there's something seriously wrong with me. And the truth is, there isn't. I'm doing the best I can under these circumstances. So I just wanted to share that with people so people know that across the board, we are all experiencing something that is, unprecedented. I've never seen a pandemic in my life, even though I'm trained to deal with them. I came apart a bit when it first started, and it's taken me till now to actually feel a little bit of security. And I still feel lonely. I still feel scared, but I'm eating. My schedule is correct. I'm staying in touch with the people I love. I'm doing rituals and hobbies that are really important to me. And I'm maintaining, right? And I'm maintaining a lot from what Esther teaches. I actually listened to her podcast about this recently. The one way to treat traumatic stress response is to really focus on the self. That's one way. And then the other way is to know when you need to ask for further help, professional help. So we'll get there towards the end. But Esther, can you tell us what you think we need to do in times like this?
Absolutely. I mean, I would also just, echo everything you just said. I also was having similar things. I also found myself to be incredibly exhausted, which was strange because I have a 1-hour commute into the city and back every single day. And now I didn't. I've been working remotely primarily. And I was also feeling like, what is wrong with me? Why am I exhausted? I shouldn't be exhausted. And like you're saying, there is that collectively, there is just this anxiety that hangs in the air. And so even if it's a little quieter here in New York City, and even if, a lot of ways it isn't as crowded, and it doesn't matter, because there also is this underlying anxiety that is permeating our society that affects everything we do. And so I have some tips and tools. Take what's useful, take what's, leave what's not, because I think we have to be a little bit more deliberate about self-care in times like this, right? So this is the time to really pay attention to things. So I'll give you a couple of suggestions. The first thing is social media can be both a help and a burden. And so when you're on, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so sometimes you can look at something on social media and you get off the phone and you may not even notice that now you're feeling depleted or less than, or you've compared yourself to people that seem to have it together, families that have dance routines that are going viral. I mean, amazing, but that's not everyone's thing, right?
Routine that should go viral.
Right.
Right. So there can be a lot of comparisons. So it's helpful to really limit that for yourself if you are somebody who finds yourself comparing. If you're somebody who that has no impact, then maybe limiting your social media is not a big deal. But for me, I had to really limit also. I didn't want to follow celebrities who are talking about how hard it is in their, poolside in LA. I can't relate to that. Good for them, but that's not helping me right now, So that's one thing, to start with. What are you taking in? And that also means news. How much of the news are you ingesting? Some people, I have friends who have decided they check the news at the beginning of the day and the end, because they don't need to inundate with the anxiety all day long. Some people don't check the news at all. You really have to decide for yourself what is the best choice when it comes to the intake, because I think sometimes we're just taking it all in and we're not paying attention to how our bodies feel afterwards. And that is so crucial right now, to really listen.
I like that a lot.
I found that so helpful when you were talking about that yesterday, that whole idea of like associating the feelings in your body and the stress, if you can identify it as stress, and what you were doing previously to that. That's
right.
So useful to think about, because even if somebody might watch a violent TV show, for example, and then suddenly notice they have more anxiety, but don't connect that it has to do with that they just watched this TV.
And that's how I was at the beginning of this. I didn't know what was going on. The pandemic was just this tape playing in the background that I thought I could just handle. Can you imagine? I can't handle a pandemic, neither can you. Neither
right.
can anyone. Right. Not enough to do that. Yeah.
We met too when we were talking pre-show to try to plan this. For example, one example I had was I had to mail a letter, and to go to the mailbox, I had to put on a mask, put on gloves, and was kind of full of anxiety actually to open the mailbox to put the letter in. I mean, that's so abnormal, out of the norm. So I really appreciate thinking about that. Mhm.
Yeah, and that segues into the next thing. Really having realistic expectations about simple errands that before we thought were no big deal. We didn't even think twice about it. Now, like you say, we got to put on gloves. We have to have a mask, or maybe we have gloves, but we have a mask. There's this,
Mhm.
thinking of just going to run out and I'll be right back. That may not be the case. And there's building yourself up to, okay, I'm going outside. This is what's going to happen. And so I think it's nice to also have realistic expectations of this may exhaust me more than I was expecting, and that is totally okay. Going to the grocery store is exhausting right now.
Mhm.
Even if you hit it at the right time and it's in and it's out, I still find you come back, then some people feel like you need to clean the bottles, or you got to wash your hands. There's just this anxiety of, I hope I didn't bring this back into my home, right? I think that's a
Right.
big piece, right?
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know. So that's another big piece that's very scary, not knowing.
That's it. Yeah. Or running into people in the grocery store that didn't have a mask, or were being not compliant in a way that we wish. That adds to your stress level. Somebody hits you by accident because they're not following the rules. I mean, all of these things have an impact, right?
And we just carry
froze, I think, Esther.
we don't recognize them. It's wild. But there's something we can do about it. Like you're saying, it's not like it's
Right.
once we're able to recognize it as like having an impact on our daily life, then it's easier to deal with, and it's also easier to recognize, there's a reason I feel off. There's a reason I feel this and that. And maybe that can bring a little hope, a little joy, because you can start recognizing that this is not you. This is something that's happening to you, and you're responding to it in a completely normal, healthy way. What else can we do?
Right. Esther, just one more thing first. I found, maybe you're going to get into this right now, but just in case, I don't want to lose this opportunity to talk about self-talk. Because as you said earlier, for some people, they're very much susceptible to comparing themselves to others. And what can that do, and what can we do about it during a situation like this?
Yeah.
When we're the ones dancing in our living room making videos.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
later. But anyway, go ahead.
So I would say, first of all, I think what we're doing right now, which is acknowledging where we're at, first of all, helps destigmatize how people are feeling. So I think that's amazing. Then you add the self-talk. So I was sharing pre-show with Bonnie and Shannon that at the beginning of the pandemic, I was really struggling with emotional eating. I found food to be so comforting. It was the only constant, was just shoving my face, eating, eating, eating. The problem was that afterwards, my self-talk was incredibly negative. I was beating myself up for eating so much. I was talking very negatively to myself, which was then having an effect on my mood, how I was treating others, how I felt. And so I started encouraging myself to pay better attention to what led to the emotional eating, and what I was saying to myself. And was it something that I would ever say to anyone else, or even think about anyone else? And if it wasn't, then it had no place in my head, or saying to myself. So it's like, are you being a cheerleader to yourself right now? Because that's what we all need. You need to be your biggest cheerleader. Or are you being horrible to yourself and just adding to the stress and anxiety? Right?
Yep.
But it takes practice to pause and be like, wait a minute, why am I now feeling like this? Why have I just created in my head this horrible scenario? It's because of the thoughts and what we're saying. And so it does take practice. I'm not going to at all claim to be amazing at it. I'm getting better. But I had to stop those thoughts the second it would come into my head and be like, no, 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 you have no place here. I'm here to lift myself up, and I will do better next time.
That's
And
so useful.
That's great.
Yeah. Some other, do you want me to keep going? I got some.
Yes, I would love you to keep going. These
other helpful things. So, also during this time, it can be hard to high high five yourself every single time you do something that you had to push against, right? You had some resistance because you're exhausted. And one way to help you with that is creating a routine. So for those of us that aren't used to being at home, which is a lot of us, right? There is this idea of, okay, I am going to start my day at this time. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to go to bed at this time. So creating this routine, which allows you to have some normalcy in your life.
Yeah. Esther, that is 100% what changed things around for me. You know, because my whole life went from like running from Brooklyn to Manhattan, 2 different offices because I have 2 jobs. I'm teaching and I'm seeing patients, and all of that stopped, and now I'm just doing it at home. And my routine was blown. It was completely blown. Now it is literally bomb-proof. I stick to it Monday through Friday. I stick to it. I go to bed at the same time. I wake up at the same time. I work the same amount of hours, and I even have scheduled in what I call joy time or self time. And I ride my bike outside alone, social distancing, wearing a mask and gloves. But I need a little bit of outdoor time every day for my own mental health. And that completely changed how I'm experiencing this, just that set schedule. And you know what I do on the weekends is I actually give myself the opportunity to have loose time. So it feels normal. And what I mean by loose time is I have Monday through Friday, the same schedule. And then Saturday and Sunday is loose. I can talk to different people on the phone. I can try a new hobby. Last weekend, I tried to cook something. It came out terrible, but it was new for me, so I was still excited about it. Oh, and also in that Monday through Friday, I called the same 2 people every day because I was trying to figure out how to stay connected, and I wasn't doing good with it. And so I talked to 2 friends who were also feeling that sort of same thing. And now if I don't call, they're concerned and they call me. But we talk every day, the same 2 people Monday through Friday, and that really helped me.
Good support. And then what is your loose days on Saturday and Sunday? It's sort of like a work week and then your weekend, just like normal. I found that I was
actually feels exciting. Friday night actually feels like I'm having a Friday night. Oh, you know, a little bit of relief. My work week is over. Now I'm not leaving my living room or my apartment. However, it does feel different, and it's because Monday through Friday is so structured, and I get excited to have that loose time on Saturday and Sunday.
I had been watching way too much TV. Is what my idea was. First, it was watching too much TV that involved the news. I was almost running continuously. I noticed it. I said, who wants to listen to this all day long? And then I found I was staying up too late watching, binge watching TV shows. I wouldn't do that on an ordinary work day, night. So I have been working on routines, and it is helping. We're probably heading close to the end of the show, believe it or not, because these half hour goes by so fast. I didn't really time. We're a little bit loose today than we would be if we were in the studio. But I did want to point out, thank you so much, both of you. Esther, is there any last thing that you would think might be like a key issue, a point that you want to get across before I start talking a little bit about what resources are available for Somerville folks?
Sure. I mean, the last thing I would say was something that Shannon, you spoke to, of the power of movement, of exercise, of just getting your body moving. We're so in our heads right now. It's a constant thought. There's not a moment that goes by unless you're able to really let go, where you're not thinking about this crisis, this pandemic. And so if you're able to just try to move your body for 20 minutes, and if that means putting on, you don't have to do anything ridiculous. You can literally put on music that makes you happy and dance for 20 minutes and get your body moving. It does so much for you, more than you would realize necessarily. And it also helps with like lifting the hormone, the serotonin levels, and all this stuff that just gets you to a happier place. Especially if you find that you're in a funk, I highly recommend any form of movement. That would be a tip that I just want to make sure we don't overlook.
Great.
Yep. And it looks like we lost Bonnie there. And then also just celebrating small successes. Everything that you do that you're able to do, little things like, I didn't think I could make a meal
People
today.
think of exercise and not
Sorry, Bonnie, you disappeared for a sec. Oh, you're back. Good.
okay, you did. Say it again, Esther, if you can.
The last thing I was saying is just really honor what you're able to do and celebrate what you accomplished. Small successes count right now, right? Like before we counted on, oh, I got this promotion, I got this. Those aren't the things to look at right now. Focus on the things that you really are proud of that you did. You made a meal, your kids ate a vegetable, they didn't fight for 1 hour. Success, right? And really honor those.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we're going in and out. I hope people got that at the end of that. This is
Yeah,
technology.
you're the only one going in and out, Mom, I think.
I am too?
Yeah.
Okay. How is it now?
Yeah, it looks stable. Yeah.
Okay, let me just wrap this up then. I want to thank you both, Esther and Shannon, for being here. This is just so useful and wonderful. And I really, really appreciate your expertise and your thoughts about this. For those who are watching, I want to say that the city, we are very lucky to live in a city that takes these kinds of things very seriously and is committed to providing resources to any families who need it. So you can call, aside from the tips you heard here today, you can also call the city 311 number. The call center will get you resources. They have links to food. They have links to help with utility bills and things like that. But in addition, they have mental health help too. And as Shannon said earlier, this is not a matter of, oh, you're sick and you need to go get mental health help. Nothing like that. Some people just need somebody to listen for a while.
Mom, can I say one thing if you don't mind? Because I would feel irresponsible if I didn't say,
sure.
We're all struggling, we're all anxious, we're all having low moods, some of us are having lows and highs, but there is a point where what we're experiencing is too much and you really should ask for help. And I just want to say a few of the things that you should look for, if you don't mind. So there's a difference between having trouble falling asleep and not being able to sleep at all, okay? That would be something that would say maybe you need to kick it up a notch and get some professional help. If you find yourself starting to use prescription medication more than you're prescribed, drinking more than you did before, yelling at your children louder than you did before, feeling tempted to hit or hurt yourself or someone else, those are signs that really the stress has overwhelmed any ability you have to cope with it, and you need to ask for help. If you feel hopeless and alone and it lasts more than a few days and you feel like you might hurt yourself, immediately seek help. Because this is an abnormal thing and there's a lot of stuff we can do, and then there's a certain point where we actually do need someone else to help us.
That's very important, yes. And some of those resources that if you call 311, for example, just as Shannon said, there is actually a group in Somerville right now. They are called, oh, I apologize, where is it? They are called, well, you'll get it when you call the resource number. Oh, here it is. It's if you wanted to get on a website, it's called lookingglasscounseling.net. And this is a group of Somerville therapists who have agreed to get on there, take calls, and listen to people for 45 minutes, literally. You can have some support and some connection so that you don't feel alone in this. And as Shannon said, there's resources on that 311 line for help with substance abuse, help with mental health issues, and certainly if you have any thoughts of suicide, we just want to say that you should immediately dial 911. And the other thing that I would say is that Cambridge Health Alliance has a free online mindfulness practice that you can also get online to cambridgehealth.com. And something that I used as a young parent who was under tremendous stress was the Parental stress line. And that number, we're going to put it up for you in letters too at the end of the show. But that number is 1-800-632-8188. And that is literally just other parents who will listen to you to help you manage the stress, to calm down. And in addition, as we said earlier, Esther has a free podcast, is it, Esther? I'm sorry, that is called Selfcare. So you
Selfcare
can,
with Esther. Yep.
so you can get that at Apple, right? Is that right? Apple and Spotify?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
iTunes, right? iTunes Music.
It's
Sorry?
Apple Podcasts and
Apple.
Spotify. Self-Care with Esther. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you so much for being here. And please, for everybody watching, no shame, no embarrassment, nothing. You can call that number and get whatever help you need. And just remember, we're all going through this. So there's nothing wrong with you if you have to reach out and get more help. We're here to help and we want to help. Okay, so we'll see you next time on Raising Families. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
having me. Bye.